All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's try this again. Welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday. You know what that means. Time to continue our series in the KYBALION and Hermetic philosophy. Wednesday wisdom. The kitten knocked over the paintings here. I was giving her some pets, but then she started going that way and we had a disaster. So we're trying take number 2 here. I know I should have saved it. Would have been funny, but there's too much, ladies and gentlemen. We find ourselves on chapter 8, the planes of correspondence. As above, so below, as below, so above. And I'm just going to dive right into it because it's been a wild couple weeks and it's already beginning to be a wild day. So, oh, it is 9/11. Interesting. The the great second Hermetic principle embodies the truth that there is a harmony, an agreement, and a correspondence between the several planes of manifestation, life, and being. This truth is because all that is included in the universe emanates from the same source, and the same laws, principles, and characteristics apply to each unit or combination of units of activity, and each manifests its own phenomena upon its own plane. Now, this is very complicated, but a little bit further on here, actually, one paragraph further on, let's just read it. For the purpose of convenience of thought and study, because this is so complicated, remember, Thoth told us, Hermes told us, the only way to get this really is that a pure philosophy is a spiritual striving through a constant contemplation to attain true knowledge of Atum, the one God. But what that means is a constant contemplation. You got to think about it, you got to meditate on it, you got to ponder on it. So, for purposes of convenience of thought and study, the Hermetic philosophy considers that the universe may be divided into three great classes of phenomena, or three planes, known as the three great planes. And we always mention these, and we didn't actually know they were going to be listed in the book, but it is the grossest, the densest, the hardest, I don't know, the most concrete form. We have the physical plane, and then as it gets lighter, more spiritual, to the mental plane, and then up literally to the spiritual plane. So the three planes of reality. These divisions, however, the book continues, and once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. I love and appreciate each and every one of you that spends time here with me and Hermes. Well, in this case, William Watker Atkinson, and the two that inspired him being the three initiates. But I really appreciate it, and thank you so much. We are reading this for purposes of teaching and commentary, expanding the mind so that through an increased awareness, we can hopefully increase the quality of our lives and the lives of those around us. These divisions, continuing with what the book says here, are more or less artificial and arbitrary. For the truth is that all of these three divisions are but ascending degrees of the great scale of life. Remember, we've learned previously in all of our studies of Hermetics, including the Hermetica and the Corpus Hermeticum, and now the KYBALION, that everything that we see that is a part of reality, everything even that we don't see that is a part of reality, is a thought within the mind of God. Now, that doesn't mean that it isn't real for us, but that also doesn't mean that it isn't just a thought in the mind of God. But keeping that in mind, everything is a oneness. It comes from one source. So, a great way of thinking about this, which was listed in the last chapter, the all in all, is of the artist or the author who creates his characters. And the characters in the play take a life of the author or the playwright or, whatever it be. And so the characters actually have some essence within them, that of the author or the creator. And so we are the characters in this play. And so as long as you are wrapped or invested in this mental process of creating this world of the story or the play. It is very real for you indeed. And this is a metaphorical way that I like to ponder on because it's very deep. Anyways, let us continue. I was saying that to say a little description metaphorically about the nature of reality. But let us continue with what the book says now. The three divisions, the mental is the middle, the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. One, two, and three. These divisions are ascending degrees of the great scale of life, the lowest point of which, undifferentiated matter, and the highest point of that is spirit. And moreover, the different planes shade into each other, so there's kind of gray areas of a crossing. You can be both physical and mental at the same time, and there's also a little transition of mental and spiritual. I'm just elaborating on what it just told us. I could be totally wrong. Once again, I'm no master. I'm just here on this journey. I would be reading this by myself. It probably only would have took me a couple weeks, but doing it this way, it takes me a couple months, if not a year. But I find it fun to do it this way and share it here with you so you can join me along on the journey and we can learn together, ladies and gentlemen, because you're probably smarter than I am if you're here watching this video, so thank you. The different planes apparently shade into each other, so that no hard and fast division may be made between the higher phenomena of the physical and the lower of the mental, or between the higher of the mental and the lower of the physical. I wonder if it meant to say spiritual there? Between the higher of the mental and the lower of the physical? Yeah, I'm betting there was a typo because, like we just said a minute ago, the lower of, so that no hard and fast division may be made between the higher phenomena of the physical, so the top of the lowest level, and the lower of the mental, so that's the bottom and the middle coming together there, or between the higher of the mental and the lower of the spiritual. It says physical, but I'm guessing it means spiritual. In short, the three great planes may be regarded as three great groups of degrees of life manifestation. Well, isn't that weird? We've been talking about manifestation quite a bit lately, reading through Dr. Wayne W. Dyer's Manifest Your Destiny, the 9 Spiritual Principles for Spiritual Manifesting. But while the purposes of this little book do not allow us to enter into an extended discussion of or explanation of the subject of these different planes of reality, still we think it well to give a general description of the same at this point. So at the beginning, we may as well consider the question so often asked by the neophyte, who desires to be informed regarding the meaning of the word plane. Interesting. So what do you mean by plane? I wasn't going to ask that. Which term has been very freely used and very poorly explained in many recent works upon the subject of occultism. The question is generally about as follows. Is a plane a place having dimensions? Or is it merely a condition or a state? It's a good question. We answer, says the book, no, not a place, nor ordinary dimension of space, and yet more than just a state or a condition. It may be considered as a state or a condition, and yet the state or condition is a degree, ready for it, is a degree of dimension. They're always doing this. They're like, the trouble is in the problem, but then the problem lies in the trouble. Paradoxical. Paradoxical. Oh, funny, it says that right now. State or condition is in a degree of dimension, in a scale subject to measurement. Somewhat paradoxical, is it not? Of course. Hermes, but what do you mean? She's like, have you not listened, O Asclepius? some of the funniest back and forths in the Corpus Hermeticum. Hermes, he goes, anyways, we can get to that. We went through that already. If you missed that series, be sure to check that series out on the channel. Sorry, I'm a little wild today, ladies and gentlemen. But, so let me read that again. They're like, is it a plane having, is it like a place having dimensions? Or is it just kind of a condition that, or a state that you're in? They're like, no, it's not a place, and it's actually a little bit more than a condition. Yet the state or condition it is actually a degree of dimension in a scale subject to measurement. Somewhat paradoxical, is it not? But let us examine the matter. A quote-unquote dimension, is, quote, a measure in a straight line relating to measure, etc. The ordinary dimensions of space are length and breadth and height and perhaps length, breadth, and height, thickness, circumference. But there is another dimension of created things, or measure in a straight line, known to occultists and to scientists as well, although the latter have not yet applied the term dimension to it. And this new dimension, we're talking about dimensions here, ladies and gentlemen. This new dimension, which, by the way, is the much speculated about fourth dimension, is the standard used in determining the degrees or planes. Very interesting. I didn't know we were going to be learning about the fourth dimension here in the planes of correspondence. We'll see how far we make it today, because there is 7 planes of the physical. Wow. We'll get to that here in a few. The fourth dimension, ladies and gentlemen, may be called the dimension of vibration. And we already knew this. I mean, frequencies, resonance, harmonies, vibration. And what is one of the 7 Hermetic principles, ladies and gentlemen? You might already be saying it. It is vibration. What, did they put that before the introduction? The lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. I know, I'm trying to open my ears here, Hermes. We got the third Hermetic principle. Let's just remind all of us, since we're here looking into Hermetics on this video, the 7 Hermetic principles. Number 1, the principle of mentalism. Most important, the all is mind and the universe is mental. Number 2 is the principle of correspondence. As above, so below, as below, so above. This is so we can understand, using correspondence, things that are going on in physical reality and spiritual reality, and we can make a correlation between the two to try to understand things that aren't understandable, if that makes any sense. The third principle of Hermetics is the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Now this, as we have just learned, is the fourth dimension. This principle embodies the truth that everything is in motion, always, constantly. Nothing rests. Everything vibrates. Nothing, once again, is at rest. Facts, which modern science endorses, of course, and which each new scientific discovery tends to verify. And yet this Hermetic principle was enunciated thousands of years ago by the masters of ancient Egypt. I was just talking with my dad yesterday about electricity. We had to wire up a dishwasher to get it plugged in, and that was interesting. I learned a little bit there. And I also learned that about transformers, and how if you make this giant coil of copper or other conductive metals, and if the coil is braided correctly, see, you can braid the coil 2 ways, to step the energy down or to step the power down, or to step the power up. So you can have a really low voltage and you can step it up to where it's a lot more just by creating a very intense coil and braiding it the right way. And my thought immediately was like, well, that's really simple. The Egyptians could have figured that out thousands of years ago. And they're like, oh, yeah, so I searched it. Ancient, the first ever transformer. It's like, yeah, in 1885 or 1855, we invented the first transformer. I'm like, BS, man. I'm calling BS. There's no way that all the thousands and thousands of years that nobody ever figured out to connect a tiny little source of electrical energy into a giant, beautiful, amazingly braided coil that they were. I mean, these guys were masters at making beautiful gold and copper, and you know what I mean? It's like there's no way that they didn't figure that out. At the same time as figuring all this out, come on, 1855. So, once again, they figured out subatomic particles and quantum physics thousands of years ago, learning that everything vibrates, and there's this vibratory nature at the very smallest level to where everything is just energy. It goes from the realm of waves, waveforms, to the realm of particles. But that's a whole different study. You probably know about that already, so I'll continue. Thousands of years ago, this subject, let me read that again. I rambled too much, like I always do, but thank you for being here, ladies and gentlemen. We are now reading the principle of vibration because it is the fourth dimension, as we are learning in Chapter 8, The Planes of Correspondence. Thank you. This principle embodies the truth. Everything is in motion, everything vibrates, nothing at rest, facts which modern science endorses with each new scientific discovery, and this tends to be verified. Moreover, and yet this Hermetic principle was enunciated thousands of years ago. So how have we been so stupid for so long? I don't know. Maybe we were going backwards. Or maybe, sorry, I was about to rant again. This principle explains that the differences between different manifestations of matter, so everything we see in the physical world, energy, and mind, and even spirit, all result from the varying rates, largely, from the varying rates of vibration, from the all, which is pure spirit, down to the grossest form of matter. This is what we're talking about in the planes of correspondence, at least this first episode. This might be a three-parter. But from the all, God, Atum, the one God, Tao, Great Spirit, Grand Organized Design, whatever you want to call it, the name is irrelevant because it is all names. It is all. So, recognizing that, all is in vibration. The higher the vibration, the higher the position in the scale. The lower the vibration, the lower the position in the scale. Once again, the physical plane, the mental plane, the spiritual plane, and the varying degrees and the shades in between. But as we have learned that even though there are differences in all of reality, it is merely just a matter of degree. So once again, keep in mind that wood is wood, but it can also be tables and chairs, and tables can be tables, but there can also be many varying degrees of tables, but there is still just table. What am I even saying by that? I'm saying that there can be one source, one archetype, and then you can break down and make varying multitudinous degrees and differences of this one archetype, but all of these things are that thing, just varying degrees. Now, this was a lesson earlier, I guess further than where we're reading at right now, but earlier in this series, and probably also in the Corpus Hermeticum. With that being said, The vibration of spirit is at such an infinite rate of intensity and rapidity that it is practically at rest, which is, if you think of a wheel going so fast, it almost looks like it's not moving, which is interesting. If it can go backwards like that, where you get so vibratory that you're like actually no longer. Anyways, just as rapidly. Oh, I must have read this before because the next sentence says, just as a rapidly moving wheel seems to be motionless. I swear I did not do that on purpose. At the other end of the scale, there are, because I was going to say a helicopter propeller, but I was like, no, that one still seems to be moving when you look at it. At the other end of the scale, there are gross forms of matter whose vibrations are so low, they also seem to be at rest. Between these two poles, there are millions upon millions of varying degrees of vibration. From corpuscle, an electron, atom, molecule, to worlds, to universes, and everything is in vibratory motion. This is also true on the planes of energy and force, which are but varying degrees of vibration. It is also true on the mental planes, whose states depend upon vibrations. So our mental states, ladies and gentlemen, depend upon frequency, vibration. It's good to know. You could use this knowledge. Like, oh, do I need to change my mental state? Maybe I need to change vibrations or frequencies in the environment. There are things you could do. There are things that you could practice. An understanding of this principle, sorry, the mental plane, also, and even on to the spiritual plane, vibrations. An understanding of this principle with the appropriate formulas enables us Hermetic students to control their own mental vibrations as well as those of others. Have you ever been around somebody who calms you down, makes you more comfortable? Or in the opposite, have you been around somebody who riles you up or agitates you in some way? This may be an example of that fact. And I think all real magic can be done on purpose or accidentally because we all have this power all the time. And it's just, are we using our minds on purpose is the real question. Remember, when it comes to the masters, the great ancient sages who could practically have a thought and have it have it appear instantly for them. They were at such this high level of harmony with Atum, reality, whatever you want to call it, universe, that they were able to manifest from their thoughts into the real world, into the physical world, I should say, rather, because the mental realm is just as real as the spiritual or the physical. But they could manifest from the world of waves to the world of particles instantaneously. And imagine if we all had this power. We do, but it's difficult, especially when you're not practicing, to do it that easily. It sometimes takes years for us to manifest a thought or an idea, and sometimes we do it accidentally and wonder why we screwed ourselves up. Say, oh, well, you weren't watching your thoughts. And so, with that said, we can use this knowledge, understanding that everything vibrates, understanding this principle enables the Hermetic students to control our own mental vibrations as well as those of others. But controlling is the difficult part. The masters also apply this principle to conquering of natural phenomena in various ways. Quote, he or she who understands this principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power, says one of the old writers. So we have the planes of correspondence. Number one, the great physical plane. Number two, the great mental plane. And number three, the great spiritual plane. The fourth dimension, which is why we were just reading about the principle of vibration, may be called the dimension of vibration. It is a fact well known to modern science as well as to the Hermeticists who have embodied the truth that their third Hermetic principle, that everything is in motion, everything vibrates, nothing is at rest. From the highest manifestation to the lowest, this is why we're rambling about the things we were. It's all connected. And you could also do this for a lifetime. I don't know if we'd ever come to an end. That's why I'm so, enthralled with this incredible spiritual philosophy that comes to us from who knows when. I like to think the previous golden age, ladies and gentlemen. From the highest manifestations of reality to the lowest, everything and all things vibrate. Not only do they vibrate at different rates of motion, but in different directions and in a different manner. The degrees of the rate of vibrations constitute the degrees of measurement on the scale of vibrations. In other words, the degrees of the fourth dimension. And these degrees form what occultists call planes. So the different vibratory natures of reality is what makes up the different planes of reality, which in itself is the fourth dimension, containing or allowing for, rather, the operation and the function of the other three dimensions. Don't ask me about the fifth dimension, it hasn't come up yet. But that'd be funny if it was the next line. Now, about the fifth dimension. The higher degree and rate of vibration, the higher the plane, and the higher the manifestation of life occupying that plane. So that while a plane is not a place, nor yet a state or condition, but it possesses qualities that are common to both. We shall have more to say regarding the subject of the scale of vibrations in our next lessons, in which we shall consider the Hermetic principle of vibration. You will kindly remember, however, that the three great planes are not actual divisions of phenomena of the universe, but merely arbitrary terms used by the Hermeticists in order to aid in the contemplation, remember, pure philosophy, spiritual striving, constant contemplation. But these are to aid in the thought and the study of the various degrees and forms of universal activity and life. The atom, down to the atom of matter. I had a friend named Adam. I often wonder if he's reincarnated already or if he's looking down from another plane of reality or another dimension. Shout out to Adam. He was a good friend. With that being said, let me continue. Down to the atom. You can tell how easily I become distracted, ladies and gentlemen. This is just fine. But the atom of matter, or the unit of force, or the mind of man, and the being of the archangel are all but degrees in one scale, and all fundamentally the same. See, goes back to this idea: it is all one. We, whether you think there are archangels or not, or whether you think there are demons or not, I would like to debate both of those facts because I think there's a lot of silliness that came out of the 13, 14, 15, 16, 1700s about all that mumbo jumbo, but that point aside, it is all still a oneness, and you are one with all of that. So remember that. I like that it said that there. That's very, but the bearing degrees in one scale, the mind of man, the being of the archangel are all but degrees in one scale, and all fundamentally the same. The difference between solely a matter of degree and rate of vibration. So we'll finish with this idea here, ladies and gentlemen. All are creations of the all and have their existence solely within the infinite mind of God, or the all. The Hermeticists subdivide each of the three great planes into 7 minor planes, and each of these latter are also subdivided into 7 subplanes, all divisions being more or less arbitrary, shading into each other and adopting merely for convenience and of scientific study and thought. And I would say esoteric and occult study and thought and contemplation. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, next time we will be getting into those 7 subplanes, the 7 minor physical planes, the 7 7 minor mental planes, and then the 7, does it get to them? Wow, this one's quite a few pages. I don't know if it does the 7 spiritual planes. But that's all right. We'll see where we get to next time, ladies and gentlemen, on another episode of Wednesday Wisdom and an introduction to the KYBALION and Hermetic philosophy. We'll leave it now. We'll leave it there for now, ladies and gentlemen. But remember, once again, whether you're talking about an atom of matter, or a unit of force, or the mind of man, all the way up to the being of an archangel, if you think those exist, they are all but degrees in one scale, and all fundamentally the same, the difference between them solely a matter of degree. Particularly, as we have learned today, in the 4th dimension, just a varying rate of vibration. All are creations of the all, and all have their existence solely within the infinite mind of the all. Boom, ladies and gentlemen, that is a boom to the KYBALION Hermetic philosophy and the 4th dimension. 4th dimension? Dimension? The 4th divination? All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We will leave it there for today because I was feeling quite rambly, which is all fun. It's all for fun. Like I said earlier, I'd be doing this by myself, and it's a lot funner to have you here with me. So be sure to expand the description to get this book for yourself so you can put it on your shelf and follow along in future episodes as we continue our discoveries into the lost wisdom of the ages and the Egyptian sage god Thoth, Tahat, and also Hermes, Trismegistus, the thrice greatest, 3 times the greatest, ladies and gentlemen. Also, be sure to expand the description to get yourself one of my landscape paintings. But before any of that, remember to seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment, through a greater awareness of reality and ourselves, so that through that awareness we can increase the quality of our lives and the lives of those around us. Remember, seek to discover the lost wisdom of the ages and the mysteries of our history. And also keep in mind, there is no way to happiness because happiness is the way. It is what we must create the ability within ourselves through work, practice, diligence, lifestyle to bring to life. Then all those things we've been telling ourselves, oh, when I get this much and I have that, and I finally have these things, and people tell me I'm so great, it all becomes irrelevant because then we are there already. And hopefully, the entire journey is wonderful. I forget what else I normally say. There's a link to C60 Purple Power. Get yourself the most powerful antioxidant known to man. Give yourself the gift of health. There's a 10% off code with that. And I'll leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Today has been a strange one, but a good one, as always. And until next time, remember to be the change that you want to see. Be the example that you want to set. No, 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 no. Thank you.